8th of the 9th, 2-4. The time is 7 minutes past 10. And I've just realised that this is an epic moment as far as Lewis Hamilton's career, and more pertinently, an inception point as far as the one that F's. What are you going on about, Cameron? Why so dramatic? Well, because Lewis Hamilton posted something on Instagram that made me get ever so slightly emotional. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Here's what Lewis Hamilton said. Leaving Monza this year, it hit me that it was the last European race. This is going to be the last time I'll be in my room in engineering. That's been my home for 12 years past. This is such a unique time in my life, one that continues to bring out a lot of emotions. What I feel the most is pride and gratitude. The memories, they will last forever, as will the memories I make next year. Oh, the humanity. Ladies and gents, how do I talk to this without bloody sobbing in my proverbial tea? Lewis Hamilton, this is his swan song as far as Mercedes. The boys and girls at Brackley and Brixworth are losing a good one here. And of course he'll go to Ferrari, Scuderia. This is his dream. The red car, the red overalls, the Tifosi, etc. You can see him bedding in now. And Monza was proof positive of that. You can see the murals that they're creating of him and Charles and Frederick Vasseur as patron saints now. Lewis Hamilton is more red than he is teal and silver arrows. But this makes me sad, ladies and gents, I will be honest. And again, it's 1001 days since Abu Dhabi 2021 and the momentous occasion that was wrapped up in polemic and controversy. Of course it was Michael Massey, and of course it was an injustice, but I think it was more than that. Because 2021, in the 40 years that I've been watching the Fs, 2021 was an epic season, one of the best that I've ever seen. Why? Because it was Lewis and it was Max. The two people as persons couldn't be more different from each other, but as drivers, as F1 peddlers, they couldn't be more similar. For when Lewis, in his maiden voyage in 2007, nearly beat the two-time champion Fernando Alonso, he reminds me as a driver then just of Maximilian Verstappen in 2021. What are you talking about? The aggression, the precision, the relentlessness, the resilience, all of the aforementioned they share as drivers. And how do you have an F1 season, one of the greatest ones, if you do not have an antagonist? Lewis Hamilton had been winning races and championships for the past 6 seasons. People had started to dial out. They said it was boring. Monotony, people said, doesn't sell F1 tickets. And so Lewis Hamilton needed himself a Max Verstappen. Why? Because for every Batman, there needs to be a Joker. And this is why the two of them together put F1 on their back, on their not insubstantial broad shoulders, and dragged it back to the mountaintop and put new eyes on the sport, kicking and screaming. Yes, of course, you got to talk to COVID. Of course, you've got to talk to the phenomenon that was drive to survivation. But for 2021 as a season, and the rancor and the Imola and the Hungary and the Abu Dhabi and the Dubai and the Jeddah, flipping Nora, but for all that aforementioned, F1 isn't in the position that it is now. 1001 days since the polemic incident, the massive controversy that was Abu Dhabi 21. But I think there's a bigger story in that. We could spend all day relitigating for that controversy and Michael Massey settings, and did Mercedes do the right thing and Red Bull push too hard? Can talk about that all day, but I think there is a bigger story on the back of Lewis Hamilton's Instagram post. What is that? Well, look, I never thought in my days I would see a person of colour driving an F1 car. It seemed like that was out of scope, that I was barking up the wrong tree, even anticipating that. For why? Well, because all my life watching Formula One, I'd never seen it. And then in came the whirling dervish, the force of nature that was Lewis Hamilton. You guys have heard me say a gazillion times that now at this current state of greatness, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen to a certain extent, I think that's a tad boring. I'll be honest with you, because now we know just how great Lewis Hamilton is and can be, and will always be. 7-time champion, all of the records as near as makes no difference to his name. That's known. There's no uncertainty or friction or rancor. We know it. Sunk cost. where I get my kicks, what turns me on as an ingester of the one that formulas, is when these guys are on their way to greatness. Please see Max Verstappen 2020, 2021, or even if you want to go further back, 2016. Please see Lewis Hamilton in 2006. Yeah, I'm not even talking about F1, I'm talking about GP2. And again, there was this sense that Lewis could actually be that next guy, a la an Ayrton Senna, or a Prost, or a Mansell, or a Schumacher, or a Vettel, that he could be that guy. But would he? Would he deliver on that promise? And the story seemed to come to fruition, to transpire even earlier than anticipated. 2007 was a gangbuster season, and but for Ron Dennis doing his best Zach Brown impression and dividing his resources, had they effected team orders early on, Lewis Hamilton would have been, for sure, the first rookie F1 champion, and that has to mean something. He was brilliant, beat Fernando Alonso, notwithstanding there being even on points at the end of the season in his first season, and that's not for nothing, because Fernando Alonso was a God tier 1, 2-time champion, just having beaten Michael Schumacher, man who I thought would never be beat. 2004 settings. What are you talking about? 7-time champion. And again, if that F1 maths counts for anything, then the fact that Lewis did that in his rookie season has to mean something. It's material, therefore. But the story around Lewis, you remember, was, can he do it again? Play it again, Sam. If you're really that good, then do it again. And Lewis went for a barren period between 2008, won his first one in 2008, by the way, but afterwards, 2009 through 2013, there was this question, a lingering uncertainty over Lewis Hamilton's career. Why is he so distracted? Why is he concerning himself with these other things? They said music, rapping, what's that all about? Fashion? F1 drivers don't do that. This is Niki Lauda, Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost. He needs to just focus on his driving. That's what they said. And if we want to talk about British bias, then that was nothing if not British bias epitomised. They absolutely destroyed Lewis Hamilton, the press superstar girlfriend. What's all that about? Focus on your driving, they said. Lewis Hamilton makes too many mistakes. He's too consistently inconsistent. This was 2009 through to 2013. And then what did he do? He moved across to Mercedes and took himself a gamble, and he was slandered for it. One does not leave the racing team that is McLaren with a view to move across to a team in Mercedes. Works team, yeah, cool, but they have no experience. How are they going to manage? Where's that success going to come from? Lewis, you are crazy, sir. Do not leave McLaren to go across to Mercedes. That's not the done thing. Not if you want to win championships going forward. And Lewis bit the bullet. He trusted his heart and made the decision that he saw was in his own best interest. Why? Well, because McLaren and Ron Dennis were starting to suffocate him, restrict his style. He wanted to do other things. He wasn't just an F1 driver. He wanted to go on Ellen and go to New York Fashion Week. That's where he is now, right? He has these other interests. And in nurturing these, in giving those interests water and sunlight, some would say, who've worked closely with Lewis Hamilton, that makes him faster in the car. But not for nothing, Lewis Hamilton is the first mainstream superstar in F1. Let's have it right and say it as it is. None of those other drivers before him, at least, could go and break down those mainstream rules, crack America as he has done, turn up on GQ magazine front cover settings, Fortune magazine, Forbes. All of those things are unprecedented. So I say all that to say this. Look, this is his final tour at Mercedes. He's done things for both F1 and Mercedes that no other driver, if we're being honest and earnest and having a big boy conversation here, that no other driver before or since will do. I remember Mercedes in 2014, their reputation as a brand and as a road car manufacturer, nobody was driving Mercedes cars unless you were old, of a certain stature, own the business. That those were the people who would drive. In fact, you wouldn't even drive a Mercedes, you would be driven in one. That's the sort of reputation they had as an automotive manufacturer. Now, however, if you walk around in London as a microcosm, everybody has a Mercedes. Everybody. Now, of course, that's a function of their success in Formula One, but you're not going to tell me that Lewis Hamilton, again, won't be a factor in that. As far as his mainstream appeal and as far as his success in Formula One, record breaking settings, 7-time champion, first driver as colour, holds all the records as near as makes no difference. And this is chaos. Who knew that we'd get here? Who knew that Lewis Hamilton would do all of these things? Who knew that GP2 Pizzioni and Piquet, or Regazzoni and Piquet, through Maggots and Beckett's? Who knew that that dude would have that in his artillery as an F1 driver and peddler? Not me, tell you that much. And so, as I read that message from Lewis Hamilton and consider that it's been 1,001 days since Abu Dhabi, all of the resilience, all of the things that that dude's been through, 39 soon to be 40 years old, all of the things that that dude's had to overcome to get where he is, to break down these barriers, all of the projects that he's working on, Hamilton Commission 44, all of the D&I things that he's doing, altruism stuff, all of those balls, not insubstantial ones, that that dude's juggling in real time, and yet and still people don't want to put some respect on his name. Here's this. Hear me now and hear me clear. On the back of all of the aforementioned, I think we all need to put some respect on Lewis Hamilton's name in his final, in his swan song at the boys and girls at Brackley and Brixworth. For he's done things for Mercedes, for the boys and girls at Brackley and Brixworth, and for F1 that no other driver hitherto was capable of doing and may never do again afterwards. My story, and I'm sticking to it. The prosecution rests. No further question, Your Honour.